Welcome everybody, and welcome to this. This is the last of the events that we're hosting as part of Leeds Digital Festival that we've called Leeds Lockdown Legends. And I guess we wanted to kind of highlight in this time of weirdness and strangeness, and to talk about some kind of positive stories and positive outcomes that have come out of lockdown, and not just people that have coped, but people who have kind of learned something, adapted to the world that's going on, and can bring something that we can learn from, and think about some of the positives in what has been a very weird time. So today we've got Ali Dowsing Reynolds, who's co-owner and director of Dowsing Reynolds, with us. Hi, Ali.
Hello.
Ali, you don't look like you're in your normal environment. Where are you today?
I'm in Cyprus. I'm very, very lucky to be here on holiday.
Well, and I'm sure you need a break because you've had a very busy summer.
It has been, yeah, absolutely. It was a bit touch and go, but we managed to make it out here, and I might stay.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So, for those of you who don't know Dowsing Reynolds, Dowsing Reynolds would you like to tell us who Dowsing Reynolds are, Ali?
Okay, we're a home decor retailer, so we sell kitchen handles, sockets and switches in lots of unique finishes, taps and showers, paint, lighting, anything. I think somebody, an interior designer recently kind of said we do home jewellery, which was quite a nice way of saying it, but basically we do anything that's those everyday interactions with your home. We want to design them and make them look a little bit better.
Yeah, very good. And how long has the business been going now?
Since 2013, so 7 years now, and there is 55 of us. We've got a HQ in North Leeds, and we've got one showroom in the Victoria Quarter in Leeds.
Wow, that's quite amazing. And I remember when you started in your garage.
we did, yeah. We had all the stock in the garage, and then we quickly moved to some premises, and yeah, it went from there.
So it's quite a story. So I thought it'd be quite interesting just to yes, you're a client of ours at Mediaworks, which is brilliant. But our kind of history and the reason why we know you and the business goes back a long way. And
22 years.
22 years.
Yeah, that's how long we've been working together. And for those that don't know, Paul's basically been my boss for about 21 of those years.
And then you were free.
And then I was free. We've had a great time. I think we made a really good team because we had both really common approaches to marketing. We both really understood that it was about the customer. I think we're both quite curious individuals and really wanted to understand what the customer wanted and needed from marketing activity. So while you were brilliant at being a very lateral thinker and you could paint a great big picture, do the strategy really well, I think what I wasn't so great at that point. And so what I did is I took that and put the nuts and bolts on it and made sure that I understood how it was going to happen and what the customer was going to get out of it. And it was, it was a great learning experience. Yeah.
And whilst we worked together, you kind of worked across quite a wide range of different disciplines within marketing, didn't you? So, yes. And also during a period where digital marketing itself really came alive.
Yeah. When we started, it was just called new media, wasn't it? Because it was a new media. And nobody really knew what a search engine was. So the way that I got into it was I was reading a book about Alta Vista, which was one of the first search engines. And that was a big, thick textbook. And I had to get to grips with what a search engine was. And we had to get to grips with what a banner ad was. So I tended to have lots of specialisms, which I went across. And I think one of the good things about what that has given me, which I think is a little bit more challenging from anyone entering like this kind of discipline in the future, is I was able to learn a lot about each of the channels, so from pay-per-click to SEO to banner advertising to all of those different things, and get my head really into it. But I stayed really broad. And so that helped me to very quickly rise to become head of department in the agencies that we were working at. So I used to manage the media teams, and then later on the content and social media and digital strategy teams. And I think it's a little bit harder for the guys these days if you're kind of focusing on just kind of one kind of tactical discipline to then kind of broaden yourself out if that's what you want to do. But yeah, so that was it. I was kind of in it at a good time, I think.
Yeah, and like you mentioned then about things like social media coming along. So, you know, I remember us sitting there going, "Hey, there's this thing called Facebook that they've stopped being only for students now. So, what should we do with it?" And it was the wild west of that. And you very quickly latched onto the world of social, didn't you?
Yeah, I think that's why I've always loved digital marketing. I like new things. I like figuring things out. So as soon as pay-per-click came along, I did exactly the same, banner advertising and social media. It was all about figuring things out, but not just from a how is it going to work. It's a how are consumers going to use it. That was always my interest, was how is this actually going to really affect how customers are using this.
Yeah, and I think you make a very good point when you when you reflected back over our 22 years and said that, you know, it was always about thinking about how it impacts the consumer or the customer, and do you think that is do you think that's how we really coped with this onslaught of new technologies, whether it was apps or social media or whatever? There's always something new coming along that everyone says this is different, this is going to change everything. But you have to have something in your head that allows you to keep, not grounded, but when a client comes to you and says, "What do we do with this?" Instead of talking about technology or talking about this, you're saying that the way we cope with it was always by referring back to, well, what's the impact on the customer?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the common thread throughout it all. And I think we were quite happy to be adaptable and willing to change based on the channel, but it always came back to the customers. I remember when we, one of our brochures, when brochures were a thing ages ago, when we had one of the agencies, we had a blank page and we kind of said, happily, we don't know yet what will be. And that was the case because we, you know, there was going to be a new technology just around the corner, but we were cemented in, okay, so what does it do for the customer?
Yeah. It was a good brochure that, so we had one page that said, happily, we don't know what will be. And we also had another page that said, why spend loads of money advertising to people when you're not even talking to people that are looking for you, i.e. search. Yes. So the world has moved on a lot. But you know, and yeah, it's always been a fascinating journey. And then you eventually got to the point where you had enough of working with me and other people, and you flipped to being a client.
I did. It wasn't an easy decision because I loved the whole team, you know, you and Andrew and Jill and, you know, some of the people that are now at Mediaworks now. And it was a big decision, but I knew I needed to do it because I couldn't do both for much longer. So I had to make a decision and be brave and make the leap. And it was a good decision for me because it's meant that I could take all of my digital marketing knowledge, which I'd worked so hard to get, and become the broader marketer, which I wanted to be, and specialize in marketing and brand. And so one of the things I did when I was doing that was I did Mark Ritzen's mini MBAs. I did the marketing one and then the brand management one, which gave me some more confidence in the process to go about things and make the leap into being a client.
Yeah, and then obviously you got into D&R full time, which is brilliant, and you were doing some amazing stuff. You opened your first retail store. You started building on the team that was already there, but you were building that out, and you had some great people already, but you've been adding people in. So exciting, amazing times, and then this year happened just when you'd done a load of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely tricky at the start, as we said on the last webinar that we did. It was the safety of the team were our biggest concern, and making sure that was going to be okay. And then once we've got that sorted, it was then having to think about, okay, so our sales have dropped quite considerably. Why is it? We realized that a lot of our products needed a tradesperson to fit them. Well, we don't need a tradesperson to fit them, but a lot of people like that to be the case. And obviously tradespeople weren't coming into people's houses during lockdown. So we had to do some fast kind of moving about on the homepage and our advertising strategy in terms of uplifting those products that we knew that they would fit themselves, things like kitchen handles, things like that, things like desk lamps, paint, because people were doing up their homes. As we know, there was a big boom in home decor. It was just a little bit more difficult for us because we didn't quite have the products that were kind of suitable for it. So we needed to do a lot of changing, but that we did well with that. That worked well. And then that left us to kind of get on with business as usual, really.
And did you, and I remember you talking and saying, you know, that, and I think at the start of lockdown, there's a lot of people, you know, that, and I'm not being crass here, because some businesses needed to stop spending money because they wouldn't survive if they carried on spending money. But you know, and you consciously took a decision to kind of up your advertising spend because you knew that, well, you'd seen evidence, and you believed that actually that was going to be the way to get through a bumpy patch, was to advertise more, not to advertise less.
Absolutely.
And has that worked?
It has, definitely. All the evidence tells us that if you are going to survive a period of uncertainty, a recession, things like that, then your brand is more important than ever, and you need to be spending on not just the bottom of the funnel and getting those customers to convert, but the top of the funnel as well. So making sure your awareness is there. You need to be shouting louder than ever.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the, you know, kind of moving on from what we talked about last time, and kind of catch up a little bit on some more of the work that you've been doing over the last few months, which has been around your brand. And you know, I find this really interesting, what the kind of process and the evolution that you've been through. But just before we talk about that, I think there's a lot of people in the world of e-commerce and direct to consumer, you know, retail models that kind of still remain a little bit unconvinced about the role of a brand. And, you know, we have a lot of conversations that go along the lines of, well, we need to focus on the bottom line, we need to focus on the PPC, the SEO, and we'll get round to sorting out the brand. We know the brand needs sorting out, but we'll get round to that. It's a lower priority. Now, I know that it's not that you don't have a huge focus on PPC and those channels, but you do have a strong belief in your brand. So I just wonder whether you could just shed a bit of light on the role why you think brand is important when you have an e-commerce model.
It can be hard being to run an e-commerce company, most definitely. There's always a lot that's fighting for your attention and a lot that you need to do. And obviously your pay-per-click and your SEO and your online advertising are very, very important. The bottom of the funnel is extremely important. You need to get people to convert. However, I think that those e-commerce companies that aren't concentrating on their brand are going to be really missing a trick, because brands take quite a while to build up. You know, they're not quick, kind of, you know, make it in a day. You have to really work at it. So I would say that really making sure that you are starting to build that brand now and giving it time to cement and work on it is exactly what you need to do, because it gives you more PR. I think it's really helped us with influencers in particular. So influencers have kind of approached us in droves to work with us, but it also helps with the bottom of the funnel as well. So if you've got a pay-per-click, hang on just one second. This is the trials of being on holiday. Hang on a second.
It's awkward when the waiter arrives with your gin and tonic halfway through a webinar, and then you could try and cover it up as something related to childcare.
I knew that was going to happen, even though I've got do not disturb signs on the room.
Is that your gin and tonic arriving?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Should bless me.
Well, you know. It's a new normal, Ali. So you know, well done to you and the team, especially Sarah Bartlett. But and this weekend you had a double page spread in the Saturday Telegraph magazine. Now, I'm looking at that thinking there's no way you get that unless you've got a good brand.
Yeah.
If you were discountlightswitches.com, you're never going to get that presence. Now, and I look at that and go, okay, that is not only amazing reach, amazing visibility, getting in front of new customers. I don't know whether you got a link on their online website, but you know, it's great. So absolute dynamite in terms of SEO. So, yeah. But you don't get that unless you've got a good brand. Is that true, would you say?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. People just want to feature you a lot more when you've got a brand, you've got a brand story, and you can tell it coherently. And it's all part of that kind of brand experience that people buy into very naturally, whether that's a journalist, an influencer, somebody that is on the first page of Google trying to decide what pay-per-click link to click. If they say they've searched for garden lighting and they've seen either the Telegraph piece or another piece of PR, or maybe a kind of press advert where they've liked the brand on that, all of those are little nudges to get them to interact with you. It might be that little feather that makes them click on your ad on Google other than a competitor. And it could be that little feather that when they're on your website, they find that they trust your brand feels good, they've bought into the story, and so they convert better. So yeah, I think brand goes throughout all the customer journey.
Yeah. So that kind of brand profile, brilliant for PR and for attracting influencers, but then turning that into the brand experience that you get both on the website and one day when you've got loads of retail again. That brand experience clearly speaks volumes either about the quality, the style, the function, the whether the product's right for you. It speaks to all of that, which all is persuasive in terms of making people buy something.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more.
And let us not forget that the purpose of marketing is to get people to buy things.
Yes, it is at the end of the day. It is.
Yeah. So I know that you've always had that strong belief in brands, but I think it's just I think that when you see a brand like yourselves, and like you say, you're 7 years old, you've grown hugely, amazing growth figures, and then to have built your brand during that time, you can then start to see it all paying off because you have a joined up and seamless experience for the customer, which goes back to your point about put the customer at the heart of all of this, and they will buy because you're giving them something that they want.
Exactly. And you're being clear about what you're offering to the consumer. You're not being a little bit schizophrenic with your brand, which is what can happen when it's not very well thought out.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to this summer. So we've all been at home, and you've been at home with James, with Emily, with balancing family life with running a business and all the rest of it, and you did manage to get some headspace, and also you've done a lot of work on thinking about your brand during that period. So just kind of talk us through what you discovered, because I think it's really interesting the way that your personal experience has brought itself through into the brand.
I think once the kind of the stressful part of making sure that the teams were safe and that we were doing well with the business was over, I could really step back, spend a lot of time at home. James in particular was spending a lot of time in the kitchen because he was using that as a place to get creative and get inspired. I was kind of, looking around the home, and it gave me so I was having lots of thoughts about the way that your home makes you feel. I had that going on. And what has been near to the top of my list, but not made it to the top of my list, was to go back and have a look at our brand DNA. So I did that. I did a lot of really deep diving into my style, what I wanted to get out of Dowsing Reynolds, James's style, what he wanted to get out of it, where the brand comes from, in terms of why it was founded. It came from a place wanting to be happy and stress-free. That's why James founded it, basically. and really about how we could kind of bring that forward. So how the brand had evolved and how we were going to present ourselves in the future. So then once I'd done a lot of digging into all of that, I worked with a consumer psychologist called Kate, who is wonderful. And I sat down with her and kind of went, okay, so this is kind of where we've come from. And I want to have a look at where we're going to go next. I've got these thoughts of, you know, here's where we've been in terms of Dowsing Reynolds, which is all about stamp your personality onto your home, make your home seem like you, and it can be a canvas for all of that. But actually now, I think there's a real part to play in terms of how your home makes you feel and the way that your home can support that. Because everyone has been at home a lot more during lockdown, and I think everyone's realising that your surroundings can really affect you. So we've been doing a lot of work, and lockdown has given me the chance to really focus at home on all of that, look at the personality attributes that we want to have as a brand, and then what we want to carry forward in terms of our value proposition and our mission. And that really is moving much more towards impacting our customers' confidence at home, whether that's stamping their personality or, and it will be an and actually, making them feel good at home. And so it's actually been really good for that as lockdown. It's been giving me the chance to think.
And I know you said that you've kind of done the intellectual approach to it and analysing, and you know, you shared with me the other day the I don't know how many slides you've got in your deck, but it's a whopper.
A lot.
So there's a lot of stuff there, but and which is brilliant, and I really like the fact that it had come from your self-reflection. So it wasn't you know, and it goes back again to putting yourself in the shoes of your customers. Yes. Because you were suddenly, instead of being Ali, director of Dowsing Reynolds, you were Ali at home.
Yeah.
And suddenly you had a new connection to your home, which normally you'd be too busy, you'd be running around. It's not that you don't do stuff in your home, you've done amazing things in your home, but to have the time to sit and ponder it is quite amazing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And we did things like so our house, our kind of design aesthetic in terms of us as a couple is quite dark. We've got quite a dark home. A lot of the walls are quite dark colours. And our hallway was dark, and we realised actually when we started to have a think about the way your home makes you feel, we realised the hallway in our home wasn't doing what we wanted it to do. So actually we've painted it white, and we've got lots of artwork to kind of, you know, bring out the attitude and personality. But now when we walk into the hallway, we feel really calm, and we feel ready to then go into the kind of cocooning, kind of darker bits of the house. So it's both affected our business and our home, which, you know, the two have kind of really affected each other, really.
So you've now built your brand out, or are building your brand out on some really solid foundations, because it's tied into your personal stories, both you and James. It's tied into where you are now and how you feel about your own home. And then you're validating that by, when you do intellectualize it, by saying, does that work for everybody else? Does that work for different consumers? Does that work for all of our different audiences? But you're coming from a place where you know, it's based on truth, it's based on authenticity, and it's based on your belief, which is then becomes very hard to argue with, and is a good thing, I would say, for a brand.
Yeah, definitely. It's given us a lot more confidence in both our offering and the brand, and in ourselves, really.
Yeah, and you know, without being cliched, but I think that you look at the greatest brands in the world, and you know, Apple didn't build a brand on saying we've got really fast CPUs in our computer. They built a brand on the fact that it enabled people to have fun and be creative. Yes. which they got to the truth of it. You know, Nike built a brand on the fact that it's hard going running, and you just need some good trainers, and then you can just do it, you know, whether you're going to be, you know, it always comes from a truth that great brands are built from.
Yeah, and you're rarely selling the product. You're selling what the product does for you, the experience that it gives you, the confidence that it gives you in your own home, for example.
Yeah. So, so I think so that's great, and it's going to be really exciting to see how all of that manifests itself through into what you know
Yeah.
where DNR goes next. Um, I also I mean because I know you very well. I can see a new confidence in you in your approach to your marketing as well. Now, um, you know, some people could have gone through this whole experience and spent a lot of time on their own and got really introspective and worried about everything and come out of it like a hot mess. You know, you appear to come out of this with new confidence.
Yeah.
So is there stuff that you're going to be thinking about doing differently? I don't know, the way that you're working with your teams, the kind of activity that you're going to be doing, is that being fueled out of this thought process as well?
Definitely. Teams is a really interesting one. So we have got a lot of our team working at our HQ at the moment. So being a busy e-commerce business, we've got lots of pickers and packers, assembly people. They're all kind of at HQ doing what they do in a social way. And everyone work from home. So customer service, the marketing team, the operations team, people like that, procurement, they're all working from home. So it's really given us the chance to see the pros and cons of both setups, really. And we are just about to sign a deal for a new HQ, because one of both the challenges and the good things that lockdown has given is it's accelerated the need for a lot more space. And so we have found a wonderful new space that we're going to make our own. But when we're currently designing it at the moment and deciding, okay, so where is the warehouse bit going to go? Where are the offices going to go? How much space do we need? What kind of facilities do we need? And we're really having a good think about how we can support our teams during COVID times, because we're not sure how long that's going to last. So we need the new HQ to have the ability to be very socially distant and to run really well. But then after we come out of this, how will we want to move forward? So we've got a place, we're building like a meditation room, a quiet room where you can go to have a little bit of peace and quiet. It's probably going to be the case that our teams that can work from home, they will probably still do a bit of working from home and then a bit of working from HQ as well. So we're trying to get the best of what this lockdown has taught us, because it's taught me that I actually am able to concentrate a lot better at home, most definitely. I love my team to pieces, but I'm always kind of, answering them, talking to them when I'm with them. And that's brilliant. We need that connection. But it means that I never got to start the brand DNA work until this year, until lockdown happened. So I've been having a big think about, okay, so how can we take the good things that lockdown has given us in terms of working from home and being able to concentrate, alongside being able to come back together as a team as well, because I know that my team back at Dowsing Reynolds, they do want to come back together again. They miss each other. Zoom is fantastic, but everyone wants that kind of human connection. So we're really excited with the new HQ about how we can get the best of both worlds. We can have a space where everyone works together. We can have collaborative workspaces, but we've got spaces where people can kind of go off into separate rooms and work for a little bit if they need to get their heads down and work on something.
Yeah. Sounds brilliant. And anything else exciting that you've been doing lately?
We have got a collaboration with Michael O'Hare from the Man Behind the Curtain restaurant in Leeds. That'll be coming up soon. So James has been working really hard with that, and Michael's been fantastic to work with. So we're really excited about that. And that
sounds exciting. What are you going into, a food range or?
Lighting, yeah. We might.
You might do.
Lighting. Yeah, so we're really excited about that and the potential for the future. So yes, new HQ, Michael O'Hare. We've got a growing team at the moment, and we'll have more product ranges on the horizon as well.
Yeah, you said that you had 10 people in the last couple of weeks, did you say?
We have, yes.
Amazing.
Which is, yeah, it's great, to cope with this. Is going to be our busiest time of year in the run up to Christmas, and it's not showing any signs of stopping. So yeah, the challenge is running that business and fulfilling everything in a very kind of safe and socially distant way.
Yeah, there was a news story the other day. I don't know whether you saw it, and it was kind of, it was the IMRG, so you know, the Interactive Media Retail Group. Do you remember when we used to be a member of them?
You do?
Like years ago, and then we could never justify the cost of it. But they did a press release saying, you know, that everybody should do their Christmas shopping earlier because there's a bit of concern about the ability of the infrastructure to be able to cope. And they had the CEO of Yodel saying they were already at Christmas levels of busyness, so add on Christmas to it, and they didn't really know, you know. Are you happy that your couriers will be able to cope?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We've got utter faith in DPD, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge. You know, I got to know my DPD driver really well during lockdown because, as you know, I believe in consuming. It helps me a lot as a marketer, but I do buy a fair amount online, and he was so busy. He was kind of saying, you know, we are hiring as many people as we possibly can at the moment, and that is only going to get busier and busier.
And any new categories that you're looking at? You were saying James has spent a lot of time in the kitchen.
Yeah, he's been spending a lot of time in the kitchen, and that allowed him to have a look at that. He could find any kitchen storage that he liked, and by that I mean jars, spice jars, things like that. So that kind of storage, and so he's been setting about designing a few different products for that, and which will kind of morph into product ranges. I think there's plenty of scope for us in the garden, because James is a keen gardener. He studied garden design, and I think there's lots more kind of what we can be doing in that area over Christmas, ready for next year when hopefully we'll have a nice summer.
So it sounds really exciting. Lots going on.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised you needed a hot day.
Yes. Yeah, most definitely.
Well, Ali, that's been wonderful as ever, and I think you know, for anybody listening, that you know, if you look on the Mediaworks website, you'll find the earlier webinars that we did with Ali, and we've done a couple that have kind of probably tracked quite an interesting story over you know, from March over the summer until now. And I think it really is interesting talking to, you know, it's great that you're so candid with us, and to really understand the dynamics of what's going on in a business like yours, and how that journey has gone from, you never panicked, but you know, from whoa, this is interesting, through to adapting to that, and then actually coming out of it, coming out into the next bit, but coming out of this bit certainly with a really positive story, and having done some amazing work on your brand that you probably would, like you say, you'd never have had time to do otherwise.
It would still be at number 2 on my to-do list, and so I'm thankful for that and grateful for the opportunities that actually lockdown has given us, and it's given us the chance to be, I would say, better directors as well. You know, to be calm, to kind of show that we can lead well in a time of uncertainty. So so those are the things that I'm grateful for, definitely.
Brilliant. Well, I won't take up any more of your time, and I'm sure you've got a nice cold drink and chicken souvlaki waiting for you on the terrace.
I've got the cleaner outside the door going, what's she doing?
So thanks again, and and we'll catch up when you're back. But thank you ever so much for giving up your time. Really appreciate it, and I hope that the people that have joined us today and the people listening to it in the future as a podcast we'll get something from that. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Right. Talk soon, Ali, and lots of love to James and Emily.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.